Hello, everyone. My name is Ernest Lara. I am the Catalyst Europe Program Manager. And today, firstly, Professor Martha Gray will explain what Catalyst is and how the Catalyst process works. Martha is the director of the MIT Link. She is the program director of Catalyst US program and a core faculty member of Catalyst Europe. And after that, we will take a look at the Catalyst Europe 2026 calendar and the admissions process. This will be done by Merce Feu. Merce is the Catalyst Europe program coordinator and myself. And finally, a few fellows and alumni will share with you their opinion about the program. So yeah, with that, I think that we are ready to start.
Okay, that means me, right?
That means Martha.
Okay. So as Ernest said, I'm Martha Gray. I'm on the faculty at MIT, and together with a number of other faculty, some of whom you'll meet, we developed Catalyst initially about 10 years ago. So I'm going to share with you some of what we've experienced and seen and some of the outcomes. I'm going to work on the assumption that you're here because you're curious about or interested in bringing innovations to advance human health. And there are many kind of innovation programs. People talk about innovation all the time. And I think if you continue to read the lay press, innovation is going to be the thing that changes the world. And as I said, there are many programs. Most of them that are out there, you bring your project to that program, and either you're awarded funding or you're awarded an opportunity to participate in some development of that project. In our experience, they only sort of work because they start after you've developed the project. We found that the secret to really promoting innovation is by starting much earlier than when you first have a formed idea for a project. We start by actually bringing people together, and this is the secret, to develop a community of people who include people that are not like you, and you come together for a shared purpose and a shared experience. And through that shared experience, you might develop a project. That's the kind of thing you need to do differently, and that's what we do in Catalyst. So this, let me see if I can advance these slides here. So doing something great is actually what I think of when people start writing, please go innovate. So this approach is important because when you work together with people that are not like you, you'll start to think differently. And it's this different way of thinking that's critical to innovation. So we all operate, and just to explain a little bit more about why this works or how this works, we all operate from a mental framework or a mind map that governs how we approach and how we react to situations. So your mind map is formed by your domain knowledge, the facts you've learned along the way in school or wherever, but it's also shaped and grown by your experiences and your values, the things you do with the domain knowledge you have. That provides your context for decision making. So for example, let's say you're a clinician walking into a patient encounter. You not only use the medical facts, but you respond to that interaction based on your prior experiences with the patient, with the disease, with the institution. So that interaction is guided by your mind map. And your mind map continues to change over time because of your experiences. So the ability to think differently really depends on building this mind map. And as you increase the spectrum, you increase the likelihood of innovation. So looked at another way, and maybe this is how you've been thinking about it, your mind, the broader your mind map, the broader and clearer your worldview is. And this part is easy to understand. The part that's easy to forget is that you cannot see anything that's outside of your mind map. In fact, you don't even know you're missing it. So to give you a sort of a simple example, if you ever had a teenager tell you they know what it's like to be an adult, and of course they can't imagine until they've had the experiences that come with the years that follow. That's how, in which case they've expanded their mind map. So that naivete is exactly the same when you hear people with no experience in medicine, for example, talk about how medical decisions should be made, or people with no experience in science talk about discovery approaches, or people with no experience in the pharma industry talk about how easy it is to make and sell drugs for cheap, for not much money. So fundamentally, what we're doing in Catalyst is we're trying to help you avoid that naivete. In Catalyst, we expand your mind map because we help you work together with people who are not like you, and you have a shared experience for the shared purpose of designing and executing research projects. And those research projects are designed to have a high potential to advance human health. So fellows that have gone through the program talk about how it's changed how they think about problems. So while I want to emphasize now, and I'll probably emphasize it again, we spend time in Catalyst developing new projects, but as important, if not more important, is the degree to which it changes how you think. It changes who you are, and it changes you for things you do well outside of Catalyst. So to get more concrete, let's talk about what we do and how it works when we're together. Operationally, Catalyst comprises 2 phases. In the first phase, you enter as a cohort of fellows, as individuals, and then you work together to develop a portfolio of several project proposals. These project proposals are informed by evidence that it's a real opportunity to improve outcomes, to make address a clear medical or healthcare system need. In the second phase 2, you work on actually doing the project. You'll proceed as teams rather than as a cohort, and you'll expand those teams to include people. Pardon? You expand those teams as needed, and we'll talk more about that when we get closer to the date. But here's where you actually do the project that you spent the time in phase 1 really validating and vetting. And after that, teams generally exit out Catalyst and to continue independently, either as part of a startup, through an independent academic project, or whatever makes sense, and continue to make progress until getting real world impact. So I'm going to explain a little bit more about how phase 1 works, because that's what happens between September and February. So to spark new projects, the first thing we consider is what are the real needs here. And what I mean by real need, it means that if you solve it, it will actually add value. It's not just a question of making something better. It's that by making something better, you've improved some outcome. Next, we think about what are the solutions to those needs, because if you just have a need without a solution, it's not that interesting. So real opportunity comes when you have a solution that's well matched to the need. And of course, to deliver that solution, you need to actually execute a project. So we ask for a project proposal so that we know at least the initial steps that you plan to do. And that comprises what is phase 1. It looks like it's linear need, opportunity, proposal, but in reality, we iterate a lot between all of those points in order to get there. So at the end of the day, your proposal is a logically connected, evidence-based plan that, if it all works out as you hope, and sometimes solutions are risky, but if it all works out, it can lead to impact. So for many, the most unfamiliar and challenging part of this process involves really exploring and validating the need, and in matching a solution to that need. It doesn't sound so hard at first, but it is more like looking into a forest and trying to find your way. So many possibilities, but what makes sense? So we don't start by saying just what's needed. We ask these questions probably in the first day that you're there. What's the bad outcome you're trying to affect? Who has those bad outcomes? How are they going to be better off? How will you know? These are the things that that are very, very different kinds of questions than those of you who have participated in traditional academic research. There you ask, what's the new knowledge that you want to generate, and can I get it published? And they actually are hard questions to answer. They sound very simple, but I think fellows here will confirm that this is a challenge. And this is a photo taken from one of our early meetings. The people that are asking those questions come from a wide variety of backgrounds. In this picture is a biotech CEO, a radiologist, a physicist, infectious disease doc. So very spread, diverse backgrounds of faculty mentors, and as well as for the fellows. And this is where we are able to identify gaps in thinking and build your mind map. So despite it being a chaotic process, it does lead to a project portfolio. They're ones that have clear evidence that a well-articulated need that if solved, it would lead to an improvement that's valuable, a plausible solution that's matched to the need. As I said, they can be risky. It just can't be a time machine or some sort of magic, and a viable action plan. So ideally, we want those plans to involve multiple stakeholders, because solving big problems requires it. We're looking for something that you can't do in your garage in the evening, but rather requires some real research, has some potential for funding, and really a time frame of 6 months to about 5 years. So one reason we start with thinking about what the need is gets to what makes things fail. So you can find this in the literature that the #1 reason companies fail is because they're building something nobody wants. And that's the same reason why so many projects in academia end up at published but not getting out, because they're really not addressing a need. They're not adding value. So this is what the emphasis is in Catalyst. So just to emphasize further, these projects are not defined by a particular lab or a particular institution, as often happens in traditional academic research. You have the freedom to optimize between specialties and technologies. We really take advantage of the diverse backgrounds. These projects are not one project, one fellow, one project, but rather projects involve multiple fellows. And usually once you get to phase 2, there are multiple principal investigators, multiple kinds of expertise. This is not, as I said before, it's a very iterative process. So there are pits, restarts, etc., that happen throughout. I'm just going to say a little bit about phase 2, beginning by saying that when you develop these projects in phase 1, the expectation is that it's going to be you that's really leading the development of the execution of the projects. We're not going to be supervising, we'll coach, we'll mentor you, but it's really up to you to make this happen. And we really focus on phase 1 on doing projects that you actually can do, that you can recruit people and so forth to do it. There's no expectation or requirement that you continue on to phase 2, but our mindset is really puts that front and center, that we hope you will go ahead and do that. And then after Catalyst, as I said before, they exit with either to startups or to academics or whatever seems appropriate for the project, as well as for the fellow. So fellows will tell you they're transformed and have a new perspective on their career horizons. Just to give you some sense of, I'm telling you theoretically how it works. We have a lot of evidence that it does work. I'm just going to talk about the version of Catalyst that ran from 2011 to 2014, meaning there were 4 cohorts that came in. So we had 4 cohorts of fellows, which totaled 34, with about 50 mentors. And by the time the projects were off and running, they had about 180 participants. So there's a huge network that kind of grows from this. And out of that, there were 16 projects that went into phase 2. And of those 16 projects, 13 of them got follow-on funding. Once they got ensconced in phase 2, which says through traditional measures, they were fundable. And fully half of them have gone out have been invested in the commercial sector, either licensed by an existing company or the basis for a new startup. And I think this notion is really there because they pick problems that actually were valuable to solve. And just to put that number in perspective, at MIT, which is viewed as a reference institution for work that gets out into the real world, about 15% of projects at MIT are translated, whereas 50% in this case. So it is a change in how you think and what the sort of beacon that you're following through. And importantly, it really changes. We did some research about how it changed people's way people think. And so it basically 100% of fellows and mentors are changed, and they'll tell you those stories. Just to give you one example of a project that came through Catalyst a number of years ago, their idea was, can you detect changes in motor skills in a passive way through the activities of daily life? So by monitoring certain reflexes that happen when you type on a keyboard, whether it's a laptop or mobile device, they could detect changes that occur with early Parkinson's disease, either to measure efficacy of drugs and ultimately to thinking about early diagnosis. This is a project that has been commercialized as NQ Medical at the moment. I picked that one because just to illustrate some of what happened with them in phase 1, they started out wanting to solve radiology errors in reading films. Then they were looking at eye movements and they thought, well, this wasn't panning out. So they went to air traffic controllers, back to radiology errors. Then they looked at typing speed and the reasons that didn't work, got to typing patterns, and then they went on to Formit. So it's very chaotic looking, but it does converge. Just to close up, to emphasize some of the differences between traditional and Catalyst, traditional research paradigm. Again, traditionally we focus on new knowledge, whereas we want to improve healthcare outcomes. There's a strong incentive traditionally to do things that you already know about. We're problem focused, we're technology agnostic, and solve the problem by the best means available. If you need to, bring in another expert. Traditionally, these are run by traditional labs are run by PIs or faculty that manage everything. Here we're fellow-centric. We want you to be the one that figures out what you're going to do. It's your life, your job. And because of the way traditional research is funded, it tends to reinforce the silos that you grow up in. And because we focus on performance requirements, on having an impact, we measure very different things. And we found that it's not hierarchical, it's 360 learning. Some people also compare us to incubators, but we're not a traditional incubator. We hope things get out to the real world by whatever means makes sense, but we're not here to tell you how to commercialize something. There's lots of programs out there to do that. You meet and form interdisciplinary teams. You're not entrepreneurs necessarily, though we want entrepreneurial thinking. And we focus on logical thinking and validating the need, as opposed to things that traditionally are in business, things like business model, customer segment, etc. And our primary outcomes are developing a plan, not pitching to potential investors. So if you're sort of trying to compare this to either traditional academy or startup incubator, and this doesn't make sense, please ask questions and we'll talk about it. Now I'm going to turn it over to Ernest to carry on.
Thank you, Martha. Okay, so back in 2020, a group of European organizations got together thanks to an EIT Health grant to create Catalyst Europe, which is the European version of Catalyst. And since then we've run 3 cohorts, and nowadays our program faculty mainly come from the organizations you see in this slide, which are located in Germany, Hungary, Luxembourg, Spain, and Massachusetts. Just to name a few, GE Healthcare is our corporate champion, and the role is to bring its commercial expertise in order to guide the fellows to increase the potential for commercialization. Then there is the MIT that provides the expertise in the use of the Catalyst method, as well as to bring faculty and mentors that we share with the Catalyst US program. The Luxembourg Research Foundation has provided financial and intellectual support the last years, and UPM in Spain and FAU in Germany have provided spaces and other resources during the program intensifications. And I take this opportunity to say special thanks to the University of Győr that beyond bringing faculty and mentors and access to pools of talent, they have made available the financial resources to run this Catalyst Europe 2026 program. All these organizations provide their support in one or another way, and they have a powerful outreach capability, being able to sit you in front of almost any stakeholder or expert you might need for your project. As an example, in previous cohorts, there were more than 140 mentors and experts per cohort that help the project in the projects in different ways. The typical profile for fellows are not only, but mainly researchers and clinicians. Regarding researchers, we tend to have a mix between both postdocs and PhD students. We expect participants to have some sort of valuable experience in any domain area linked to health technology or healthcare, that domain area being either scientific or technological. And regarding clinicians, we've had clinicians with different levels of experience and specialized in a variety of therapeutic areas. Other profiles that might be considered if they complement the cohort, such as engineers, designers, or people more on the commercial sides. We've had those profiles in the past cohorts as well. As an example, in our last two cohorts, we've had 12 fellows per cohort. A few of them were clinicians. Most of them were mainly researchers, both postdocs and PhD students, and had a diverse range of specialties, both with technological background, such as computer science, biomedical engineering, or with scientific backgrounds, such as biochemistry, biophysics, for example. You can tell by their faces that besides working hard, we had a great time, both online and in person. Merce will let you know more about the in-person intensifications later. Like them, you might consider the program if you have an interest in biomedical translational research, if you would like to develop professionally by training and ability to design and implement a strategy for your research that leads to impact, and make a case for why your work will advance medicine and healthcare. Then it would be ideal that you have an expectation that you might continue working on the execution of the project after the 6 months program, provided that your team, with the support of Catalyst partners, is able to get the support, the financial support to run the execution. But we will help with that. We'll let you know more about that later. Then, although having had some research experience is valuable, we do not expect that candidates bring an ongoing specific research project to the Catalyst program. You bring your ideas, your approaches, as Martha explained. You join the program as an individual and create teams to launch new research lines, upon which, by the way, you will make your own decisions. So consider the program if you have or want to achieve agency in determining what ideas you wish to pursue, if you enjoy working in teams that are diverse in terms of profession and discipline, and if you value mentorship. The program, regarding program costs, so the program does not have a cost for participants. So selected fellows will be offered with free tuition And we will also cover the costs of flights and accommodation for the intensifications that are held in person. And among the things that selected participants get is the possibility for approved projects at the end of the program to receive pilot funding. So we have reserved a part of the budget to give a few stipends and funding after the program to support selected projects on their transition to project execution phase, which is the process through which fellows build a team, look for PIs, an institutional home for the project, and generate first evidences to get to a better position to apply for competitive funding. As we have done in the last two cohorts, so the amount that each approved project at the end of the program receives is 50,000 euros per project. Let's take a look now then at the dates and time commitment.
Thank you, Ernest. Okay, so in terms of logistics and how the program works, so the next edition of Catalyst Europe, the 2026 one, which corresponds to the phase one that Martha has explained previously, the program will start on January 8th and will run through July 2nd, 2026. So that's a 6 months program. In terms of workload, candidates should expect between 10, 12 hours per week of work. And this workload is divided into 2 types of dedication. One is the scheduled times, which are specific sessions that I explain in a minute. And the other part would be flexible time, meaning independent and autonomous work to work on the assignments from faculty and to work in the projects that you will be building during the program. So in terms of the scheduled times, there are very specific sessions. So from one side, we have the weekly sessions, which are run all Thursdays from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. European time. And these are run through Zoom, so all the sessions are online. And on average, you can expect the first 2 hours to work with faculty and the last hour independent work with fellows to work on your projects. In addition to those weekly sessions, there are some, we call it like special sessions or activities, which are focused on specific parts or elements of the program. So from one side, we have intensifications, and there are 2. So these are 2 3 full day sessions to work intensively in the need or in the development of your project plan. So the first intensification is from January 14th till 16th. That will be in person in Győr, Hungary, at University of Győr. And this will happen in the second week after starting the program. So that means that's a perfect time to meet in person the fellows, the faculty members, get to know each other very well and start thinking on needs and possible targets of intervention to build your projects. The second intensification, also in person, will be in April 14th till 16th. The location will be confirmed, but it will be there in Madrid, Erlangen, and in Germany, or Luxembourg, which are the Catalyst Europe hubs. And the purpose of this intensification will be to work on the project plans. Then we also have solutioning sessions, and those will be held online with the support of MIT LinkU faculty. And these sessions will be 2 Tuesdays, March 17th and March 24th. And the main purpose of those sessions is to have this support from the US Catalyst faculty to work on specific solutions for the needs you have already identified in the first intensification. And finally, the last special session is the Fellows Encounter. This is the last encounter in person with all the fellows, and that will happen in Budapest, Hungary, during May 21st and 22nd. And the main purpose is to do a last sprint in the development of your project proposal before ending, a few weeks before ending the program. So you can get together again and build your project plan. So that's in terms of logistics and workload. In terms of the admission process, or the process to participate as a fellow in the next cohort, it is mainly divided into two parts. The first is the filling out the application form, and the second is participating in the interviews day. For the application form, you will find in Catalyst Europe website, it's catalysteurope.eu, the link to apply through the application form. So in the application form, you can create your user account. So you can start the application one day, close it, and then go back another day to finalize it. Our recommendation is that you start the application form early so you can read through all the questions. We will be very happy to answer any question or any doubt you may have regarding the application form. So if you do it early, then you'll have more chances that we solve all the doubts that you may have, and you can always come back and finalize it at your convenience. So this form will be open until July 27th. And after that, we'll do an internal review and announce the pre-selected candidates that will go to the interviews. That will happen the week of August 25. And then the interviews will be on September 11th. That will happen online. And we recommend you for now to book the whole day. That doesn't mean that you'll stay the whole day doing interviews, but it's just to secure that you will be available. And as the date approaches, we will share the date schedule and the timings, especially to the pre-selected candidates. So you should expect for the interviews day 1 hour, 2 hours activity in the morning, in group activity, so some interactions with other candidates, and in the afternoon 10 to 15 individual meetings with the selection committee. After that, we'll do another internal review, and by the week of September 26, we will announce the selected candidates that will compose the next cohort of Catalyst Europe 2026. After this date, till December 10th, we will open the enrollment process, which is filling out all the paperwork to formalize your participation as fellow. Having said that, it may be that we open a second round of applications if additional candidates are needed due to unmet profile needs, or declined offers, or incomplete enrollments from candidates from the first round. Our recommendation is that if you really want to participate into the program, to apply during round 1, because if we may not open round 2. If we complete the cohort in the first round, then we will not open this second round. So if you really want to be in, we really encourage you to start applying very soon. Okay, so that would be the process and the steps you should follow to participate as fellow in the next edition.
Okay, thank you, Mercè. Now we will turn it over to the fellows so that they share with you their opinion about the program. We will start with Germán González. Hi, Germán.
Hi, Ernest. Okay,
Yours.
That was unfortunate. Okay, so let's start. What a ride it was. I was a fellow for the program between 2011 and 2014, and I'm very happy to see that Martha put some pictures from those days. I'm going to borrow one of Martha's favorite sentence, that it is all about the people. And in my experience, that's how it was. I joined right after my PhD. We were fully immersed, in our case, for 6 months, generating ideas, a group of 10 fellows together, just coming up with needs and trying to find solutions for them so that we could target an opportunity. And we did that. I was involved in 3 projects that came out of that. And we were very lucky to have the opportunity to go to phase 2. So we actually had 2.5 years after phase 1 to implement and develop it. So the projects I was involved was one Team Colo, where the need was to find colon cancer, because current screening techniques, even though there are colonoscopies, and at the time they were not, but now there are stool genetic tests, they still miss some of the lesions that may develop later in cancer. So we developed a colonoscope that could see in 3D to try to find those lesions that are flat and that cannot be seen easily. That project exited with Nick, who continued it as a researcher in Johns Hopkins. The second project I was involved was Team CT, where we used the artificial intelligence techniques of the time that right now make us laugh to detect pulmonary clots or emboli in CT scans to see if it's better to go through surgery or if it's better to treat the patient with medicines. Going back to the sentence of it's all about the people, some mentors that I had at the time in that project are here. It was fantastic. We generated IP and we licensed that IP at the end of the project. And the third project I was involved was Team Cell. Also, some of the mentors are here too. The need was to do a liquid biopsy or to find circulating tumor cells with a device that's more robust than what was currently available. And we found an idea that was to do a brute force search. We generated IP. And again, this is one of the projects that was licensed. But I think this may be the project that impacted me most, not only because of the licensing, but also for the mentors I met, and some of them who became business partners later on. In overall, great experience, and I'm very happy to see that this continues and that new fellows will enjoy this experience, as I hope that as much as I did.
Thank you so much, Germán. We will continue now with Beatriz Garcia.
Hi, I'm Beatriz Garcia. I'm from the University of Luxembourg, and I had the privilege of being part of Catalyst US 2022. I'm currently in the phase 2, and I definitely recommend Catalyst. For me, it was one of the best experiences of my career. I would like to highlight that in the phase 1 that Martha explained, you not only develop a good project and then you also have the opportunity to expand your network, but in my case, it's something that really helps me to shape and teach the way you approach problems. So I use already in my day-to-day research all the things that you learned in the phase 1, and it helps me to run applications and to organize the projects. In addition, I think it was also very useful for my future career. For instance, now I'm considering to work towards innovation, and this is something I was not considering before joining the program. And also, I think it was also important for me that the program is very flexible. You can do it at the same time you have a full-time job. In my case, I joined during the last year of my PhD thesis, and still I was able to benefit from all the program advantages. So I really recommend, and yeah.
Thank you so much, Beatriz. And now Neil Sancho will provide his opinion. Great to see you, Neil. Hi there.
Hello. Can you guys hear me well?
We can.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So yes, I was also a fellow, Catalyst 2020. And for me, what my two colleagues, my two fellows already said, it's completely true. When it comes to like the phase one, you get a lot of mentorship, a lot of support and value. Networking is something extremely important. However, I would like to also include the next phase. So in our case, we had a project that moved further, which was based on malaria. And after the Catalyst finished, we managed in the next 3 months to get already 2 grants. One was from a university, which was also in partnerships with the Catalyst program, and another one was from the MIT. So for me, that's also something really important, because at the end, when you are going through all these program, you are getting a lot of insights about scientific aspects, about how to develop or improve your scientific knowledge. However, of course, funding is extremely important. And in our case, again, after 3 months, we managed to get all these 2 grants. So that also shows that apart from improving the knowledge and being able to deliver or create really good research projects, you also have good connections to then being able to have some grants and therefore being able to continue with the projects, getting some more research, technical research, and therefore develop it even further. So from my perspective, it's a way to expand the network, being able to fund it further, and therefore in the long term, being able to provide something positive to our society. That would be it, a bit shorter than the other ones. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you so much.
Okay, and finally, to conclude, just a final comment to let you know that if you have any question, any doubt, any concern, please feel free to reach out to us through the email contact@catalysteurope.eu. We'll be reviewing this email regularly to solve any question you may have. And remember that in the website catalysteurope.eu, you have all the information regarding the Catalyst method, the 2026 edition, and all the steps you should follow to submit your application for the next edition. So as said, thank you for your attention, and we are looking forward very much to seeing your applications coming through. Thank you. Bye-bye.